You're listening to the Waypoint TV Podcast Network, brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors.
What's your favorite hunting tradition? Is it going out on the family land? Maybe the woods where you used to build forts when you were a kid, you know? You just get outdoors, and do you go out with your buddies? Maybe that first time hunting with your grandfather. I mean, those are the memories that last a lifetime. Well, hunting season is finally here, and Academy Sports and Outdoor Stores has everything to gear up for the field for less. And when you go to Academy, you get to shop a wide selection of ammo, shotguns, rifles, feeders, game cameras, camo, deer corn, and more from the brands that you trust. I mean, to me, nothing sounds better than all that. I got you guys a good deal. If you text HUNT24 to 22369, you can take $20 off when you spend $100 when you shop hunting supplies at academy.com. Maybe you need a hunting license. Pick it up while you're at the store shopping. Or better yet, get started now at academy.com.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See detail.
Alright, welcome back to the Survival and Basic Badass Podcast today it's Jason and Chuck. I have Jason Ross, who is the creator of the new Homestead movie coming out. Jason, I don't know, we're all kind of excited about it. I know it's been a long time. Everyone's always looking forward to like prepper movies and that, and nothing ever really ever lands or takes off. So I know this has been a long time coming. I've seen ads for it for forever, back that you guys were kind of, hinting at it, and then kind of went away. And I'm like, yeah, that'll probably never happen. And then now it really seems to be a reality. So you got it.
We've got a long time. This is a prepper movie by preppers for preppers, and we've choked down a lot of Hollywood movies on preparedness and survival, haven't we?
Yeah, they're not the same. We actually had a lot of people were excited when that Civil War movie came out, and I think it ended up being a little less than what I was hoping for. I don't know. But that's all I'll say about that. But no, so I'm looking forward to this. So it comes from the Black Autumn books that you had written or co-written?
Right, co-written. I co-wrote Black Autumn series with Jeff Kirkham, the 28-year Green Beret. And he and I also co-founded Ready Man, which Jeff is still running.
Nice. Now, so, yeah, with that, like, how long did it take you guys to put the book together and kind of come up with it? And like, how did you even approach it? Like, you guys were just friends with Ready Man, or how'd it work out?
Jeff was just coming back from 28 years as a Green Beret, working for the Army, then the State Department. And he was just wrapping up his career and wanting to dive into business. And we met through a mutual friend, a West Coast team guy, SEAL guy. And then we kind of combined Ready Man, which is already up and running, with Black Rifle Coffee, which was just getting started out of Evan's garage. So it was Evan Hay for Jeff Kirkham and I. And Jeff had been doing some writing just to decompress in Afghanistan, and it was pretty good. And so he and I decided, hey, why don't we war game out? He called it War Game the Apocalypse, and like tell the story of what we think would be a black swan. So a totally unanticipated, unpredictable, unpredicted series of events that leads to the crash of civil order. And so we like, Jeff had spent, they're almost 30 years in Haiti, Afghanistan, Iraq, the Philippines. He'd spent like a long career in places where the Lord had already crashed. And he until like he is like, yeah, let's play that out. Let's see what would happen. What's the best? Let's tell a story about the best possible preparedness situation, like the best possible preparedness community and the best possible spot with all the money in the world, and have it go horribly, unpredictably wrong.
That's it. I mean, I think everybody's kind of, will be thrown when things go bad. I mean, that's one of the things we always talk about. I'm like, oh, you had just asked me about, Helene here with Western North Carolina. I actually was at a prepper camp, and they were doing I was giving a speech on EMPs and that kind of thing. And we're going out there in the middle of the hurricane, and it's just everybody's like, oh, we're like the most prepared people. We're all here giving lectures on preparedness, and you still come up with things like, oh, I didn't have enough gas in my truck. I didn't think I'd be driving 150 miles in without a gas station. Just things always come up unexpected, and that definitely. People, you don't know what you don't know. That's the thing. Like, things come up unexpectedly, and obviously gas is kind of a basic thing that you should have kind of handled. But things can always throw you a curveball. There's always that one thing. Oh, well, I didn't do that. I'm normally on top of it, but it didn't. And yeah, looking at things from another angle, I like that kind of idea of it.
Yeah, statistically, Jeff would say, yeah, let's say, for example, war with Russia and an EMP is the most likely scenario here that would crash civilization. That still is probably only a 20% likelihood. 80% is everything else we haven't thought of yet.
Right. And even that, yeah. I mean, who knows? You don't know what could happen. I mean, I think, honestly, the more likely, although this last week things have kind of leaned towards the Russia thing, but, in general, I mean, I think really a slow decline where, we have ridiculous inflation and things are getting away from us and things just get really hard, is almost, more likely at the moment. But then again, this last week with long range missiles from Ukraine and whatever, Putin doesn't seem excited about that. And that doesn't seem like, the guy I'd want to put in a corner,
And whoever thought it would be the Dems launching long-range missiles into Russia?
We're on the way out. Let's do something completely opposite of that.
We grew up with them in the party of peace and getting us out of wars. Now what the heck are we doing? But it just goes to show you can't predict anything. For the movie, as we wrote the screenplay for the Homestead movie, kind of one of our mantras was nobody gets the apocalypse they ordered. Not the preacher, not the military guy, not the gardener, not the prepper. Nobody gets the apocalypse they order. Everybody gets caught on the back foot.
I find it all concerning, because it always is something different. And I think, as we all discover, doing the whole prepper thing it's really being able to adapt, being able to change and figure out, knowledge really is the key, because the amount of preparedness junk that you buy, and not that it's junk. I mean, certain things will make things a lot better, obviously. I mean, having a big solar setup, that's going to make a big difference. Having a way to get clean water, going to make a big difference. All those are true. But it's how can you adapt and, come up with the things that you forgot you didn't get, or they got damaged and destroyed. Maybe some pests come into your garden and destroy your setup, or, whatever. Somebody comes in and takes something from you. Anything can throw you a curve. How close is this movie like based to the book? Like, is it a new thing altogether, or is it really coming off of the Black Autumn books?
Definitely comes off the first novel, Black Autumn. So, but it's the entire first season. So the movie is a kickoff to a television series. So we've filmed both a 2-hour feature film that'll be in theaters this Christmas week. It'll go into theaters this Christmas week, and then we'll continue on the Angel Studios streaming app. After Immediately upon watching the film, if you're in the theaters on December 20th, you watch the film when it releases, you can go home and continue watching the television show that picks off right where the movie leaves off. So it's actually a film, a television show, and then a live unscripted show. So because we're all preppers and because we have integrated and we practice everything that you see on the movie and on the TV show, we actually did a show about how did we learn this and how do you do it? Like that would be gardening, irrigation systems, solar systems, what plants they're growing to feed the crew. We practiced all of that, and we practiced all of that on the homestead where we're filming. So there's the feature film that comes out this Christmas week, the 20th of December in theaters. That pours straight over into the television show that you can then go watch, which is the entire Black Autumn story. So there'll be roughly 10 episodes if you call the theatrical 2, so called 9 episodes. 9 episodes that'll take you from beginning of the Black Autumn story to the end. And we added quite a bit of story to Black Autumn. So it's more than is in the book, but it does track with the novel.
Nice. No, the novel's awesome. So, I downloaded it pretty much right when it came out and was just like, oh yeah, this is awesome. And, whatever. And then I stumbled in one of them. It wasn't obvious to me that it was like the same theme and whatever, originally like conquistadors or something. One of the, there's travelers and conquistadors. That's right. And yeah, one of them, I wasn't even whatever. And I was like, oh, that's the same, and kind of put it together. I don't know, stuff pops up and I'm like, oh yeah, download that. Check out that book. Check out that. Always see what's new and exciting out there. But no, that's awesome that it follows. So pretty much right away though, after the movie, the TV series is going to be right there, like, or at least an episode or.
We just finished filming 2 episodes. So, and I just saw the rough cut of the first episode last week. So yes, there'll be 2 episodes available December 20th. It'll pour straight over. And then we'll finish that season. We'll finish filming that season early next summer.
Nice. So that's usually I feel like we're always waiting for things. That's what always kills me with books that, if there's like yours, you get closure at the end of the Black Autumn book. But when it's like a 3-part series or whatever, and whatever, I'm like, oh, I can't wait 6 months a year. I was trying like put off. I'm not going to listen to the first book till I'm like ready, or else I find myself going back and listening to the first book again just to kind of be on page with. So yeah, no, that's awesome that you have the follow up right away. So I was going to ask you the follow up here with you said the Homestead. So now, you actually have like the homestead that the movie's kind of set in, right? That the theme is set there. How'd you put that together? Like mentally, like what brought you to do, hey, I'm going to make a big off-grid compound or at least homesteading's, off-grid setup. What brought you to that?
I had always been into preparedness. I think I wrote an article for American Survival Guide. You remember that old magazine?
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
I think I wrote my first article when I was 17 years old.
Wow.
And wrote a bunch after that. My dad was a prepper in Southern California. And so preparedness, food storage, gardening, hunting, certainly tactical training has always been, since I was a kid, Boy Scout, something I love to do. So when I was able to get a few hundred acres of mountain land in the Rockies, then I really got serious about building it out in terms of gardening. And then in the last 6 or 7 years, gotten really into permaculture. So gardening, not only with annuals, but with perennials, fruit trees, berries, perennial food plants.
Yeah, I mean, that's, perennials that keep going, forever. That's just, I mean, nut and fruit trees that just produce without you doing work every year is the dream, I think. Of course, they always seem to take so long to get established and whatever. It can be a little frustrating. I guess start early, right? That's one of the things I think a lot of people have the plan. Oh, well, when the world ends, I'll just grow a garden in my backyard. And it's like every year, it seems like you run into new obstacles, and obviously we get better every year with gardening and whatever. But, one year you might have some, insect that comes and destroys your stuff. And, maybe it's a groundhogs, one year that find a way to get in and destroy stuff, or deer or whatever. And you always learn the tricks, but it's kind of one of those things. The more you do it, the better the better your outcome every year. And I feel like if gardening is your goal and whatever, you need to kind of, if that's your plan for long-term survival, you need to kind of get your hand in it as much as you can beforehand.
It's kind of like that with everything. I mean, with fire starters, with gardening, with baking bread, with canning. I mean, and that's kind of like, isn't that what makes this so much fun? I mean, yeah, we prepare to be prepared, but it's what we don't talk about a lot is how much stinking fun it is, because we're all cracking the code on some new mystery around aphids or permaculture, or like making my wood ovens work right. Every single thing I break out of the box and go learn, no matter what it is, whether it's wilderness survival or if it's like baking bread in an oven, or it's always an eye opener. It's always a fun code to crack. And every time I learn one thing, I'm getting a leg up on all these other skills as well. So yeah, it's just this opportunity to be a Renaissance man or woman and constantly learn. It's so much fun.
Yeah, no, I think that is part of the whole thing. I actually got into prepping and like started all this. I was in the Navy, and we were over in Kosovo when we were dealing with all that. So a million years ago. And it was like 98, 99, something like that. And former Yugoslavia. And just seeing these people who had been there for so long and their lives just completely disrupted, and hey, you need to move and whatever, and unable to, really defend themselves, and all types of, crazy world. It kind of made me realize how fragile things can really be. And I know they're not, we haven't really seen that in America in quite a while. And that's, one of the things I know in your book, you kind of touch on that in the beginning is, since the Depression, we haven't had these big disruptions. And even that wasn't, the end of the world that some people, see and whatever. But it's happening in other countries and throughout history that people keep having, their lives disrupted and shaped and, changed. And one, being able to adapt. But my whole thing, the theme has been, I want to have preparedness, so I'm not operating out of fear, or desperation. People say, oh, you're prepping, you're a hoarder, you're taking it away from the rest of us. But no, I got mine so that now I don't have to panic and whatever. And also I'm hopefully in a position to help other people, to build on that.
Those are the big questions that we raise in the book and in the film. We're also operating, asking, like, one of the themes we'd reflect back to as we were screenwriting is, what does it look like to prepare to share? Because Jeff Kirkham had traveled the world. He said, look, the best weapon you can possibly have in a time of civil disorder is a thriving community and influence all around. Yeah, maybe you've got 200 or so, which is kind of his magic number, right around you. But then what about the 2,000 that are in the neighborhoods around you? If you can prepare to share, that is a heck of a weapon. He saw that in Afghanistan, in those communities, in Haiti, in Iraq. So his focus has always been, how do we build a big enough community that we're resilient And how do we prepare to share? Stuff like wheat is super cheap to buy, a little tough to store in your neck of the woods. We're much drier here, so
yeah, it's different, right?
We're because of how dry it is, it's pretty easy to store large amounts of wheat, but also to grow food way beyond what you and your immediate community would require. Have enough water to share, have enough water purification to share. So and we see this play out in the story where in this ultra prepared homestead, this rich man's homestead, because in the story, it's like the rich man has built this amazing homestead, and then he's hired special operation forces veterans to come and run it. And the question immediately rises, like, who's in charge? Because the dude's money isn't worth anything anymore. Everybody's got their family there. And who the heck calls the shots? Because, who's signing the paycheck doesn't matter anymore. And so these two guys immediately find themselves in conflict. Plus, we don't think about this a lot, but we see this in the Homestead movie. You don't know if it's really down. Like, is society going to come ripping back, and then you're going to go to prison for some of the things you decided to do?
Right.
Or you're going to have to deal with, there were 100 people at your gate, and you told them all no. You told them all to pound sand, and then you have to go back into life with those people.
Right.
And do business and go to church with those people. How's that going to fly? And but the big question is, throughout the movie, some people believe FEMA is right around the corner, going to come save them all. Some people believe the power's going to come back on, and there's no way to know if that's really the truth. There's no communications, so they can snatch little bits of information or disinformation on shortwave. How the heck do they know if next week? And then the police show up, and the police are like asking for some pretty hairy things.
Right.
And the city, do you shoot them? You're gonna
You're
gonna hot rocks at cops. At what point? This is 2 weeks after the power went out. At what point?
Right.
You do that, if ever, and at what point? What level of force are you willing to bring? And then, they're running into total problems with hunters who are pointing rifles at perimeter guards because they're hunting and they don't have binos. What the heck do you do? How do you make these decisions in a collapse that's pretty opaque, which that's kind of what they've seen around the world. That's what Jeff pointed to. You don't know that, hey, power's going to be down for 18 months or power's going to be down for 18 days. And then we're going to have society back. You don't know any of that. Plan to not know. That would be the best bet.
That's one of the big reasons I appreciate all the different, prepper novels and stuff out there and kind of consider everything, because you see a million different ways it could play out and a million different things you didn't think to consider. That's the big, I didn't think, that we'd have that. And that's exactly, I think that's one of the hardest things is you have law enforcement that might be like, hey, I'm the sheriff and I'm going to come take stuff. And you want to, in a way, help out the community. And then on the flip side, you don't know where it's the guy just kind of being greedy for his own thing. People are people, that's, people always used to ask me, oh, well, people in the military, they're better or whatever as far as, and it's a mix of people, and I feel that way about cops. It's a mix of people. There's great ones and you just don't know what you're going to get. Some people are just getting a paycheck, and that's, and then how do you decide what's right? And like you said, the long-term consequence of what comes back after is, you don't know. Like you said, is it going to end next week and this is just a short time down and then there's severe consequences?
We'd ask, is this, and the characters ask, is this kill or be killed? Is that what's going on here? And the wife of the kind of rich prepper guy, she asks him, and this became kind of like our fundamental question: is this an ark or is this a fortress? And it's a dang good question, especially if you're a church-going Christian or a believing Christian. what are you called upon to do given your faith? Like just protect your family and that's it? Or is there more? Or, and she's asking a lot of questions about this character, about what's God doing here? Like, what's the play as a person of faith? And then you have, the vast majority of the community are not people of faith. They're not people of faith necessarily. They just have spent their lives doing something else. And everybody has a different deal. Like you have they have a big medical group, nurses, doctors, pharmacists, whatever. And all those guys are anti-gun. So here there's these anti-firearm people cohabitating with military and gun people alongside people who just don't know, who are still counting on the government to come save them. Would be a typical survival community. You will not get a bunch of people who are lockstep that believe it's going to go the same way.
No, not at all. And that's one of the things, it's like, oh, well, maybe I have a well and things go and I'm happy to be hey, I can give everybody buckets of water. It's not going to cost me anything. But when you open yourself up as, hey, look, I have all these resources here. I'm established and organized. You're opening, people will be like, gee, if I didn't have to walk a mile to go get a gallon of water, it'd be a lot cooler than, if I just go take over your place. And you don't know, do you turn away people? I mean, honestly, it's one of the things we're seeing play out on the national level with, how many people do we let into the country? Because what can we absorb without destroying what we have to where we have nothing? And I think that's really what happens with your kind of prepper compound is how many people can we take in and help or give out things without having, catastrophic consequences, I guess, where all of a sudden we basically have nothing, because you can only sustain so much. And, you mentioned the 200 number, it really depends, what you have to work with. One of the big things I've seen in other novels is that kind of deal with it earlier on, where the guy had been in the community for a long time, but working with the community, talking to the local sheriff or whatever, getting to know people. Maybe it's, the town supervisor or whatever, but kind of having a plan early on, talking with the fire department. Do you guys have stuff for your generators and things? Would we be able to, the more you communicate and set things up on the bigger scale, because people are so worried about prepping for themselves that, you do end up where you can just kind of be overrun and somebody come take it all away from you. But if you can create an environment where everybody's a little bit more prepared and less desperate, you're definitely putting yourself in a better situation.
Yeah, since we wrote Black Autumn, we published in 2018. The neighborhood, we've done a lot to support the neighborhood around the actual homestead, these 500 homes, to prepare. So we have maybe double as much food storage in the basements of our neighbors as we have.
Nice.
Here. But that took a lot of work. That was a lot of coordinating with local churches, because we'd go and say, hey, we can buy an entire semi-load of wheat, or we can buy half a semi-load of beans, depending on what's available in the harvest season, what's like end lot, because we're here in an agricultural band. We picked up beans, sugar, certainly wheat, and then bucketed it as a neighborhood. And to your point, we've actually coordinated with churches. Now, when it comes to like the local city, in the movie, right away, you've got some bureaucrat like coming in and probing to find out, because he's looking at it, his family's hungry, and he's looking at his position as a bureaucrat in the county and his as a way to feed his family. And so he's showing up and saying, hey, you're running water, and these aren't your watering days. And hey, I'm noticing you don't have permits for this gathering. Hey, I'm noticing you're not paying taxes. And then the question is, why would I pay taxes? There are no services.
Right.
In cities, nobody's answering the phone. And then it starts getting hairier and hairier because that guy, can he put together a SWAT team? You know, so the questions like that are being raised. And at what point do you can say no, but then at what point are you going to be forced to back that up? And to what degree? So we get to play with all of these questions, and all of this without them really knowing what's happened in the world. Like this community doesn't know what's going on the West Coast or the East Coast. They've only heard rumors the first couple of days, and that was about it. So where's this all going? I think you got to plan to not know. When people ask me, how do you think, society could end? What do you think is the most likely? My answer is, I don't really care. I mean, my approach is to remain very resilient in the face of all possibilities. Yeah. And have a great time doing it with friends, family, and my children. And then don't worry about it. Yeah. Just roll with the punches.
Yeah, no, that sounds right. I mean, that's one of the things is, to me, preparedness is, being a prepper, it's all about how am I going to be self-reliant where I don't need things from the outside. And that protects you from 90% of the things that, come up is, a financial collapse or a hurricane or anything else. If I produce and can sustain everything locally and don't need outside stuff to keep going on, that really is preparedness. I mean, that's the only thing you can do, in most ways. Now, does that involve security? Does that involve, all these other things? It's like, yeah, I have the awesome garden and water and well and everything, but somebody can just come take it away from me. That matters, and that's, you address that early on, bringing in a soldier, the hired guns right away. But that's something people need to be aware of, but also, knowing your neighbors and getting to know, like you said, the 500 houses around you. And you definitely, that's, addressed in the book, and you kind of have ways of maybe encouraging the neighbors to support you that come out in the book and that kind of stuff, to win hearts and minds, right? That's the big thing. I think it is awesome. Like Green Berets and Rangers and do so much of that, winning people over and establishing, organizing the people that take care of themselves. That's something people don't really maybe realize that our military does, where you're kind of organizing and coordinating with people. I mean, I know it is more the special forces guys, but rather than maybe always being the SEAL team kind of thing, like people see in their mind, I think there is so much of that putting together maybe militias, armies, however you want to put it, and establishing allies in the community and working together and utilizing those resources. I think it matters, and understanding that and being able to apply that kind of to your prepper situation is awesome. That's such a big part that people don't, think of, outside, even if you have like a mutual assistance group, which is basically what your compound, is, the Homestead, but just the same, also organizing and working with the community around and having a plan for that seems like a really great option and asset that you could add to your prepping.
Yeah, we think of defending ourselves with the firearms like direct action missions, and certainly it could come to that. And in the book, you see, or in the movie as well, you see Jeff Erickson, this SF guy. He organizes a QRF of all of his pipe hitters, and a couple of people from the community who are firearm capable, but then everybody else and the neighborhood, they're the perimeter, and they do 20 times more work than a QRF. And then the quick reaction force, or in his case, he has like 4 quick reaction forces. they're just there to respond to an incursion or something that might go hot or that's already gone hot. And so we think about like a direct action role for firearms, like actually engaging as and another thing Jeff taught me, which is the math is really crappy on self-defense with firearms. In other words, you need a lot of people because, I've got a mutual assistance group of 10 people. You're like, when are you going to sleep? You know, you've got a 360-degree threat radius, and maybe if you're up against a mountain, you have less than that. Maybe. How many guys does it take to actually keep an eyeball on that? And then when do they sleep? When do they eat? And then you start running the math. You're like, oh, it takes a lot of people to do that. And in the military, they won't let them sit. They won't let a guy. How long would they allow, say, for you in Yugoslavia, to be on a guard post at any one time? What is it? 90 minutes?
Yeah, no. When you're out being alert, right? It's short because you can't keep that kind of attention that really matters. You can stand at, a quarter deck or something on a ship for 4 hours because you're standing there and prepared. But when you're a watch, that's a different game altogether.
That math is like, oh, you have 6 couples that are all like, good luck with that. You need dozens and dozens of people on perimeter rotating to have any modicum of safety.
And then feeding and supporting them, at the same time. Obviously food supplies don't go on forever. And like you said, you can do pretty great with your wheat. I'll give you that. But the rest of us, that can be tough to store stuff long term. And, I guess there is Mylar bags and things can be prepared, but it's tough to have a long sustainable food supply. And, everybody always thinks, about hunting or whatever. And obviously that goes away pretty quick when everybody has that same plan. The deer dry up pretty fast. Everyone's like, hey, I know how to hunt, and there's squirrels and rabbits and whatever. And there is today, but who knows what the future holds.
So you come down to like a church, a neighborhood, a large mutual assistance group, but really the neighborhood's the most sustainable. And unfortunately, as like capable people, we don't always tend to be the most get along people. Again, you see this big time in the movie because you've got the soft guys who are really great at getting along with each other. Uh-huh. They're terrible with everybody else. They're always going after other dudes' wives, and they're a mess. And some of them are just straight up aggressive, and they just want to get their gun on, And then you have Jeff Erickson, who's like just barely out of combat, and he's barely getting along. I mean, he can barely get along with his wife and kids. He's dealing with stuff. So it's complicated. We've come to find out as we've messed around in this that the psychological issues are crippling in a survival group situation and have to be dealt with. They have to be, can't be swept under the rug. We have in these 2 episodes we just shot, we have a therapist show up at the door. Her husband was invited because he's an engineer. But she's the one who goes to work. Like they need her more than anybody because they've got, now it's 3 weeks, I think, into the power going out, and they have a third of their perimeter sentries, third of their people in bed, so mega depressed. They're off their meds, for one thing, because there's no more meds. And for another, they're facing the complete loss of everything they ever had. Like the whole station is gone. And they're trying to figure out who they are in this new world. They're cripplingly depressed or bipolar or schizophrenic.
Right.
And now they not only are they having a hard time getting people to just sit on perimeter duty, they're having a rough time keeping people from offing themselves. And she's like underwater, this therapist, and she's being forced to ask and answer all sorts of questions she never did before. So like, who who's gonna like be good with that? The statistics on psychotropic or mind altering drugs that we use in America, antidepressants, the statistics are harrowing. It's like, whether you know it or not, probably a quarter to a third at least of your mutual assistance group is going to be on meds.
Yeah,
that are going to go
crazy. Right, that go away. And to your point earlier, when you bring military people, they have. I would say, because I see it where I work and whatever. I work for an engine manufacturing place, but so it's guys, and a lot are from the military that I deal with. But it's a different mindset of things matter when you do them, and accountability and urgency and stuff like that. You have that mindset of everything matters. Whereas a lot of, people coming from other traditional jobs, whatever, they, if I show up 10 minutes late, it doesn't matter. It's not a big deal. And you have that clash of minds. I even see it. I'm from New York, and I moved I'm in North Carolina, and just the change of culture of mindset and pace and handling things is very different. And you bring those worlds together, a different people. And like I said, it's, obviously going to be more of an issue of, military types to civilian types. And, that mindset, definitely, I'm sure my family can tell you that there's a lot more, accountability and things that military guys put out of, we need to do this matters and whatever. So yeah, clashing worlds. And like you said, medication, both just regular health wise, but mental health is, falls apart, and people don't realize, like you said, how many people are on medication, and how do you deal with it when somebody's completely a psycho kind of thing? You have, more dramatic bipolar stuff or whatever going on. What do you do with those people? Can you allow them to stay at all? These are the hard questions that come up and kind of get crazy.
Yeah, so we thought, with creating this show, by preparedness, by homesteading people, for preparedness, homesteading people, we could tell this whole story with all of the fascinating drama that a lot of this nobody has ever seen. A lot of what we're talking about, no one's ever seen that in The Last of Us or, The Walking Dead or any of the shows Hollywood's thrown at us. Yeah. There's so many interesting questions to deal with that when it came to making a movie about it, with some experience in preparedness and mutual assistance groups and civil disorder around the world, the question was, wow, what stories can we tell that no one's ever seen before? And I think you haven't seen the movie yet, Chuck?
No, I have not.
Okay.
You know what's lousy though? I'm part of that the Angel this stuff there. I like sponsored some other movies in the past and done stuff. So they sent me a thing and they were like, "Oh, you can check it out." And then the link didn't work, and I was like, "Oh." And they were like, "Oh, it's good for 24 hours or something," and then it didn't work out. Mm-hmm. I'm like, "Oh."
You were looking at the rough cut of the movie.
We have
the TV shows now up on Angel because their guild watches early cuts. Like we probably put up 6 or 7 different cuts of the movie, and then got and found out what people wanted more of. For example, we showed the movie and people came back and said, we'd like to see more of what happens in the world.
Yeah.
So we went back, like 6 new scenes in the collapsing world and added them to the movie. So yeah, that's Angel. They're really, really good at reaching out to their audience and asking them what they would like.
Yeah, no, it's an exciting thing. I got to say that, having a studio that's putting out things that are more in line with what people want, especially or people like me want. How about that? Especially when the rest of the world is like going another way, and it feels like Hollywood is kind of dictating what, people want, whether, and we kind of go along because we're not making movies. And it's been like impossible for people to kind of crack into it. And it is pretty impressive how far they've gotten, you know, with, because nobody else has really been able to do it, you know, the way that I haven't seen it, you know, at this level. They're
Red State elects a president, so we're more than half. And to tell the stories that are faith adjacent, that are capable, competent people about capable, competent people, to tell those sorts of stories that Hollywood has sort of looked away from. Yeah. We've seen Taylor Sheridan kind of glance off that with like Yellowstone, 1883, 1923. We've seen that there is this, that I say we Red State folks, audience, and we're an enormous audience, and we're an audience that can elect a president, put it that way. And then it's like, what are we done yet? Like getting shoved down our throats, like the Civil War movie they used. You know, I saw it was like some, you know, leftist fever dream.
Yeah, it was a disaster. Yeah,
we won't get into that, but we watched that and we said we had already filmed and we were in the middle of edit for Homestead when we watched that. And we were like, our thought was, we're so glad to be able to provide, and we're telling a story about burning down the left. We're telling a story about good people doing their best and in tremendous conflict with one another in tremendously difficult circumstances. We don't need to, like, you know, assassinate a leftist president like they did in Civil War. Yeah. But we tell us Angel Studios supports, and I think we'll see a lot more shows and movies coming from this production team that did Homestead, and certainly more seasons of Homestead, as well as other stories that are stories that we'd love our families to see that isn't leftist agenda.
Yeah, no, and it's been, you know, from Angel Studios and stuff, especially, we're seeing better quality actors, things coming that, you know, we just hadn't gotten in the past from wholesome movies, if you will. You know, they hadn't had the budget or, you know, the resources, whatever. And there are a lot of actors too, I think, that are getting pushed out of Hollywood that, you know, are maybe now more available, that kind of stuff, you know. But
yeah, and actors like, a lot of them have been sort of living under the radar. These faith Red State actors, like Neil McDonough, he's like this mega family man.
He's great. Yeah, I've been a fan for forever with him. He's just awesome. Fantastic
family man, man of faith. Bailey Chase, fantastic family man, man of faith. In their most recent TV shows, we have Chuck Eston from Outer Banks, Bill Wagner from Lioness. These are fantastic family people. From Dawn Olivieri, who's runs the horse ranch in Arkansas, Alabama. So we've sort of, we picked up a ton of Taylor Sheridan's actors and actresses who jumped in, who are about telling these sort of salt of the earth rural state stories. There's a lot of actors, cinematographers who've just been sort of living under the Nashville crowd. They've been sort of, you know, under the radar, trying to keep their heads down from getting chopped off by leftists, by the progressive media. And now they're able to stand up and say, I want to do projects I believe in. And Angel's platform.
Right. And that's just awesome. I was super excited. Yeah, no, early on, I was like, you know, I had watched, Sound of Freedom and then, the other stuff. But and then when they did that, the Hope movie, I was like, oh yeah, and I did Money with that and different stuff. And then got into that, watching some of the early access stuff. And like you said, and kind of voting on the things and the torch videos and the different things. It's really a great setup and kind of puts the stuff that people are looking for, in the hands of of the consumer, I guess, where they can kind of decide how it goes. And that's pretty awesome. And just having somebody with clout and power and not necessarily being afraid to do things, because of the repercussions of the rest of Hollywood and whatever. And maybe hopefully, like you said, after this election, maybe people are thinking, hey, maybe we still do have a voice. There is still a decent amount of people out there that, enough people to stand up. Maybe the world isn't completely crazy. I guess that's how I would put it. We always try not to be one way or the other, but it's just, hey, that's, people feel overwhelmed by what they see on social media and from Hollywood. So I think it's pretty awesome, to see something new and different coming out.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it. So no, I appreciate it. So December 20th, right? That's when we can look forward. Yeah.
Yeah. December 20th. And also if you pre-order your tickets early, you get a chance to win a Just Add Water Homestead. There's it's like $300,000 worth of the best homestead equipment that we actually see in the show. So solar energy, greenhouse, ATV, tiny home. So there's actually a giveaway just for fun to give one of our fans, early ticket buyers. They'll win this $300,000 homestead plus a Bitcoin. So buy your tickets early. Angels set that up. That's another cool thing they've done is allowed us to buy tickets into theaters months in advance. Mm-hmm. So that the way by buying tickets months in advance, that's the way for Angel to force screens. So they show up and they say, hey, we've already sold, 1,500 seats or 15,000 seats in your area. You need to provide the screens for those. So when we buy tickets in advance and then redeem them, we push screens away from the kind of Hollywood and into this sort of more kind of rural, salt of the earth type television shows.
Yeah, no, that's it. I mean, just getting it out there is so awesome. Like I said, wholesome values and whatever, and even better that it's prepping. I always go with that. Obviously I have, my survival podcast here, but it's, the more people that are prepared, the better it is going to be for all of us. And it doesn't matter what life throws at us. It doesn't have to be EMPs and civil war, just, inflation, anything. Just the more prepared people are, the better life's going to be for you. Is really what it comes down to. And like you said, there's a lot of benefits to prepping, just of peace of mind and cool problem solving and projects that, and I like to shoot guns. So, I mean, whatever you got to do, there are benefits, right? But that's it now. So I'll try and get a link and put it in the podcast and on YouTube there for your giveaway. I'll see if I can sort that out and get it in there. I had already shared that other thing on all the social media there that we have the giveaway, the 300,000. So the post from that. So hopefully people find it, but definitely I'm super excited about the movie and looking forward to it. Like I said, I love the books. They're great. So now keep doing what you're doing. All right. Like, subscribe, anywhere you want to send people for anything. They need to go buy Black Rifle coffee. That's the answer. Life Absolutely. Will be better. I'm a subscriber. I've been drinking it for a long time. So you're good. You got one fan, I think Blackbeard's Delight. I've been living off it for years now. So I don't know.
Excellent.
So, all right. Anyway, with that, stay safe and we will talk to you guys next week.
Hey, thank you.